And so what's funny is, it wasn't just like, oh, all right, I'm wrong. Like, I started looking into, like, why am I wrong? Like, what's going on? And the science is proving me, the DNA system is proving me that my beliefs were wrong, and that what I'm believing now is right, you know? And so I just sat on it for a while and just said, you know, I started hanging back out in South Philly, and I was great. I was very lucky. My South Philly friends that I grew up with that weren't ever really skinheads or anything were just, you know, Irish thugs. And they know that I would say that about them because that's what we were. They hung on street corners, they sold drugs, you know. We had the Lockland, the Jersey market. Jersey kids come over and want to hang out in the city and buy drugs, and we were the first fucking corner off the bridge, you know. So I'm hanging back with those guys, and I was grateful that I had that to fall back on. What happens with most skinheads is when you stop hanging out, you lost your whole social network. You just lost it all. And I was grateful that I got picked right back up by a group of other friends who I grew up played sports with and stuff. So anyway, I'm just sitting on this, and I noticed that I'm never, like, whenever an incident happens on the news or whatever, I'm not right away what I used to think. Like that train of thought of, oh, that's just typical black people in the ghetto. Like, it's not like that, you know, because I can look at my own neighborhood and say, this is a fucking ghetto, so I know it's not that. So I'm looking at things differently, but then Oklahoma City bombing happens. And I see that fireman running down the street with that dead little girl. I'll never forget that picture ever in my life. And I hadn't seen my daughter in, you know, almost a year. And here, you know, almost, you know, 2 years maybe. So he's running with her, and I keep thinking of her. And then I start knowing that it's the movement right away. I just know it, and know in my heart it is. And then it turns out that it is. The Turner Diaries, which is the book that Frank Meeink Lecture read, was one of my favorites. You know, so that kept killing me inside, and I felt fucking really evil. It was like the reverse feeling that I had when I first went to prison, where I thought, man, I'm really not that bad of a person. Exterior, I am. Interior, I'm not. Like, I had this. It was so opposite. I felt that outside I felt okay. Inside I felt still evil, and that I would be part of something like that. So on that following Monday, I went to the FBI and I told them everything. I told them my story. I had nothing to rat on anyone about. I'd been out of the movement for a while. And the skinhead that jumped me when I got out of the movement. I went to a funeral and they jumped me. So there was that line had been crossed. There was no, I want to be back, or them want me back. So it was good. I mean, I was done with them. I was done with that lifestyle anyway and stuff. So when I went to the FBI, they asked me if I knew anything, and I didn't. But they knew, and this is a funny thing, is that later on, years later, I found out that the FBI had called the civil rights group and said, you need to talk to this guy. He's sincere. And now for the FBI to do that, they're like tight asses. They don't give you a recommendation like that, you know. So, and what it was is, and then what later on I found out was, when I talked to them, I didn't say, oh, I didn't do that, or, oh yeah, I did everything. Like, I was real and honest and said, yeah, sometimes I was there, sometimes I wasn't. I was honest about what I did, and didn't try to downplay or upplay what I did. So that was the difference. And then, so the civil rights group, the ADL, I started talking with them, and they said, why don't you go talk to some little kids? So I went and talked to little kids. My first time, I went and talked to this 4th grade class. And I'll never forget, I just went to this room, and I sat down, and like those little chairs that the little kids have, you know, and they had one sitting waiting for me, and they were all sitting in a circle in their chair. And I sat down, and my knees were in my chest because the seat was so low. And 5 minutes into it, dude, I'm just bawling. Just snot coming out of my nose. I'm like wiping my face off with my shirt. I mean, just, it was fucking, I scarred them fucking kids. So I continued to talk to them for that hour that I had, and holy shit, and we're kids. So a couple weeks later, I thought it was horrible. I was like, this is the worst. I'll never be asked to ever talk again, and maybe I shouldn't, because I don't know how to talk, you know. About a week later, or 2 weeks later, I got a big vanilla envelope from all these kids, like, thanking me for coming to their school. And you could tell, like, their teacher didn't make them write them, because they didn't all start out, dear Mr. Meeink, thanks for coming to my school. And you know, they were all just different. And then right away, like, after now, like, all these people are like, oh, come talk to our school, come talk to our school. And I felt kind of wrong in the fact that I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I used to do bad things, I don't do them anymore now, so I'm a good guy. Like, I wanted to continually do good things. So I kept kind of, and always an honest man, because it's where I come from, the honest man's assessment on race all the time. When something happens, like I never was going to stereotype white people for being too racist. Like every situation is so unique and so different, and I was always getting involved with that stuff and reading up on it and studying people's reactions to things and just doing it. And finally, I went to the Philadelphia Flyers where I met the owner of the son of the Philadelphia Flyers, and said, when I was in prison, I played sports with guys who were not my color, but we got along great once we started playing. I said, I'd like to do that with hockey. So we started that out, and we got kids from different backgrounds, different races, and we mixed them all up and put them on ice hockey teams together. It's not fucking rocket science. Kids just want to have fun, you know? And hockey, and even like now, like my 5-year-old, it's just so funny, like, they, when them little kids have all that equipment on, you can't see who's in there. I mean, even my kid has to put a name tag on his fucking helmet so I know it's him. You know what I mean? There's cages and mouth guards and neck guard. I mean, it's just, you don't, and that's what them kids cared about too. As long as they have the same colored jersey on, they don't care. They just want to win and have fun and score. So with that, I started doing more of that work, and people started asking me to speak more and more, and it became a trip. It was just an awesome trip, and later on moved out to Iowa, where I got to do this hockey program in Iowa. And yes, there are urban people in Iowa, you know, live in Des Moines, so it's a different change. But in my life, I got to work for hockey teams now, and yeah, people talk about American History X, and you know, there's a lot of debate on how much is true and who's true and who wrote what. But all I know is that I know for a fact that there's parts of that movie that are definitely from public knowledge of my story. I just know it. There's no doubt in my mind, and that's fine. So now, you know, I got this book coming out, and you know, all these good things, and people say, well, wow, it's pretty cool that you used to be a fucking asshole, and now you got, you know, all this stuff because you were that way. It's not because I was that way, it's because of what I do today. From all the extreme hatred that I went through, I will be the guy that holds the door for you. I will say thank you for whatever you give me. I will say please. I will treat you with the most respect. And that's just different from the way I used to be. So guys, that's kind of my story.